Hello and welcome to another episode of Tom Plays Board Games. So today I'm going to start the countdown of my top 20 games. In this video today I'm going to count down games 20 to 16. Now to help me compile this list I use the PubMeeple ranking engine. So there's a few decisions in this list that I still feel a bit dubious about, but ultimately I have come to accept it. So let's get on with the countdown. So number 20 on my list is Inish. Now Inish is one of those dubious decisions I was telling you about because I thought this game would be higher up my list. I absolutely love this game. Thematically, this game feels like it was made specifically with me in mind, because the theme is set around ancient Celtic mythology, a lot of which came from Ireland. And when I was a youngster growing up, I would read and hear loads of tales of the likes of Fionn McCool and Tiernan Og and the Banshee, etc. So in Inish, you play chieftains leading your clans beyond the seas from Ireland to a newly discovered island. And Inish is actually Gaelic for island, bit of useless information there. Now, on this newly discovered island you will be discovering new territories, you will be building sanctuaries, building citadels, moving to new territories, clashing with rival clans, all in an effort to become the Ardrí, which is the High King of this new realm. This game is beautiful. The artwork is absolutely stunning, from the box art to the amazing art on the territory tiles, how these territory tiles fit together to create this new realm that you're discovering, and it always looks absolutely amazing on the table. It has amazing table presence. Gameplay in Inish is quite simple. From a deck of 17 action cards, less if you've less than 4 players, each player will draft a hand of 4 of these action cards. You will be using the same action cards for the whole game, so it does not take long to get to know these action cards and build up a strategy to try and win the game. Now, how you win the game is one of the most interesting things about Inish. Because in Inish there are 3 separate win conditions, and when you have met one or more of these win conditions, then you have to basically announce that you have a win condition. You have to take a pretender token. Now you cannot take a pretender token until you have met a win condition, and then also you cannot win the game unless you have picked up a pretender token. So basically it's very hard to have an under the radar victory in Inish, because as I said, you have to announce you have a winning condition, and also the timing of when you take the pretender token is important. If you take it too early in a round, you're just going to put a target on your back and everyone's going to go gunning for your clan to try and obviously knock you off that winning condition. So you always try and take that pretender token as late as possible. As I said, there are 3 different win conditions, and you can try and reach as many of these win conditions as you like. The more you meet, the more chance you have of winning the game. If there's a tie, the person who is the Bren will win the game, and that's basically the person who's chieftain over the capital city. So as I said, you've got to be very careful when you take the pretender token and make sure you can meet as many of those win conditions as possible. So from the hand of action cards you have drafted, you'll be using these action cards to move your clans, initiate clashes, build citadels and sanctuaries, discover new territories, and there's also 1 or 2 of these cards that can mess up your rivals. You can pick up epic tale cards, and these epic tale cards are one of the things in this game that really makes the theme shine through. as they reference a lot of Irish Celtic legends. Now, there are deed tokens that reduce the requirement of each win condition. Combat in this game is very simple, and one of the things I love is the fact that moving into an enemy territory doesn't always initiate a clash. You can discuss it with your rival and have a peaceful outcome without having a clash. Also, you can have clashes with multiple clans. So for example, if you initiate a clash in a territory that had 4 players, then that would initiate a clash between all 4 players. Inish is relatively easy to learn and to teach, and we usually play it in 1 to 2 hours depending on player count. Now, Inish does feel different to a lot of other area control games I've played, and I think the art, the theme and the graphic design really do contribute a lot to that. It's also possible for new players to win this game because, as I said, it does not take long to get used to these action cards and what you can do with them. And even with the epic tale cards, they are usually just more powerful versions of your normal action cards. So basically, Inish is awesome, and it is my number 20 game. In at number 19 is Brass Birmingham. This is the first of a few brain burners in my top 20. So in Brass Birmingham, you will be playing competing entrepreneurs during the Industrial Revolution in England from 1770 to 1870. The game's played over 2 eras. You have the canal era and the rail era. So you will be developing your industries in this game, you will be expanding your canal and rail networks, you will be selling your goods to merchants, and you will also having to be hitting up the bank for some loans which are going to fund your endeavours. So on the face of it, Brass Birmingham has relatively simple mechanics. You will be dealt a hand of 8 cards, which will be a mixture of locations and buildings. You will take 2 actions on your turn, apart from the first turn where you just take 1 action. And then you will discard a card for each action that you take. So the complexity in this game comes from making sure that you have enough money, you have access to the right commodities that you're going to need to expand your network of canals, railways, and build the buildings you're going to need to maximise your victory points. Always make sure that you do your actions in the correct order, and don't be afraid to take out loans, especially early game, as you're going to need that money to kickstart your industries and your buildings and get a foothold in the game. I usually find that early game money is always tight, but as you progress through the game and your income increases towards the end of the game, having money doesn't tend to be too much of an issue. So Brass Birmingham hurts my brain, but it hurts it in a nice way, if that's possible. You have 2 main ways of scoring victory points: by flipping your building tiles, and this is also done in 2 ways. So your coal mines, iron mines and your breweries come with these resources on them, and as soon as any of these are emptied, so people spending them resources on your mines, as soon as they're empty of the resources, you will flip them, and then you will immediately improve your income by what it says on once you flip the tile, and then also you will then score the victory points on it at the end of the era. The other way to flip your buildings is with cotton, potteries and manufactured goods. You can sell them to merchants. So basically you just need to get a link from one of those buildings to a merchant, and then you can sell that commodity to a merchant. You might have to consume some beer in the process of doing that, but once you've done that, you will flip that building tile, immediately take the income and score the victory points at the end of the era. So the other main way of scoring victory points is by scoring all your canal or rail links that are adjacent to merchants or flip buildings that have the link icon present. And so I just quickly want to mention the awesome iron clays that come with the deluxe version of this game, and you just use these clays as your money. So Brass Birmingham is an excellent game. Unfortunately, I haven't played Brass Lancashire, so I can't offer any thoughts on or comparisons on which one is better or not. But as I said, what I can say is I love Brass Birmingham, and it's number 19 on my list. So in at number 18 is Battlestar Galactica, the board game. Now 2 or 3 years ago, I would say this game would have probably been in my top 5, maybe even my top 3 board games. But lack of plays over the last couple of years, and also, you know, just playing other games more often, has mean it has slipped down a little bit. Now the board game is based on the updated TV show, which ran from around 2002 to 2008. And in the updated version, the Cylons can imitate humans. And so this is the central premise for this board game. Battlestar Galactica is a semi-co-op hidden traitor game at heart. At the start of the game you will select a role, and then from a deck of loyalty cards everyone will be dealt one loyalty card each. You secretly look at this card, and that will then tell you whether you will be playing a humans or a secret Cylon. So the goal of the human players is to try and find a new planet to call home and escape those nasty Cylons. And the Cylons, well, they just want to destroy the human fleet. Now, on your turn in this game, you will be moving around Galactica and Colonial 1. You will perform one action on your turn, and then every player on every turn has to resolve a crisis card. And now the crisis card and resolving these crisis cards is where all the shenanigans begin. It's where all the accusations start, and all the deception and stuff like that starts to kick in. So these crisis cards will have tests that the human players are trying to pass. Failing them is always bad. The tests are quite simple. There will be a number in the top left hand corner of the card that you will need to reach to pass. It will also tell you that the type and colour of skill cards that all the players will need to secretly contribute to pass the test. And this is where the secret sneaky Cylons can wreak havoc. Because any skill card that does not match the colour required will count against the test. So, and also because there's always 2 random skill cards added to the test from a deck called the Destiny deck. So you can't always be sure if a random card of the wrong colour turns up that it was a Cylon, but it does give the Cylon scope to sneak in a card of the wrong colour and try and make the humans fail that test. And as soon as you fail one of these tests, well, that's where all the accusations are going to start flying. The human players are going to be trying to deduce who the Cylons are. The Cylon players are going to be doing everything they possibly can to remain secret. And this is one of them games where you find a lot out about your mates. You'll find out how cunning, conniving, deceitful, and how comfortable people are with lying straight to your face. And this part of the game is the part that I absolutely love. There's loads of shenanigans going on, there's loads of accusations, and I would say 99% of the time it's all done in good heart, and you know, you can have a good laugh. And you do need the correct group. You need to play with people who want to get involved in a bit of banter, who aren't going to just sit there silently all night and just play the other part of the game. But you need, as I said, you need people getting involved for this game to really shine. There's also epic space battles. You can launch nukes, you can pilot Viper fighters. There's even a political part of the game. The president gets to choose these quorum cards, so you can make political choices that will help the fleet. So there's loads of stuff going on in this game. So for me, Battlestar Galactica has to go down as a classic board game at this stage. Yes, it has that simple hidden traitor mechanic, but dealing with those crisis cards, constantly having the Cylon fleet on your tail and launching attacks really does give it that epic feel, and it plays to the theme really well. Battlestar Galactica holds a fond place in my heart because I just absolutely loved the TV show when it was on, and it turns out now I love the board game just as much. So that was my number 18, Battlestar Galactica. So on to number 17, and that is Western Legends. Now, a disclaimer about this one, because this game holds its lofty position in my list after just one play. But we had such a blast in that one play that I can only see this game getting better. Firstly, the theme resonates ridiculously with me. As a youngster growing up, back in Ireland we had one TV, so I used to sit there for hours on end watching westerns with my dad. Probably watched hundreds of them, and so I recognise loads of the characters in this game. So in Western Legends you could choose to be a gunslinging marshal or a rootin' tootin' outlaw. If you go down the martial route, you can always become an outlaw by performing one of the dastardly deeds in this game that gives you outlaw points. But once you go down the route of an outlaw, the only way you can change is by getting arrested, spending some time in jail, and contemplating your life decisions. So Western Legends is described as a sandbox game basically because you can do whatever you like. You can rob banks, you can rob trains if you have the expansion, you can rustle cattle, you can have gunfights with bandits, you can have deadly duels with other players, you can mine for gold, then you can deposit the gold at banks for some rewards, you can buy new horses, guns, hats, whiskey, and a host of other things from the local trading shop. So outlaws in this game get points regularly, so they put a bit of a target on their back when you become an outlaw, and I think you probably need one or maybe more than one outlaw in the game to stop the other person from being bullied. Martial players also gain some points as they go along, but they will gain a lot of points at the end of the game, depending on how successful they've been as a marshal. There's a deck of poker cards, which is an absolutely brilliant idea because you can use these poker cards as extra actions, or you can use them to react to certain things that happen in the game, or you can use them to play poker. So one of the things I love about this game is that there's always something meaningful to do on your turn, and I do really think that the designers have nailed the theme, because you do feel like you're a cowboy or a cowgirl travelling the Wild West and doing all the awesome cool things that I've already mentioned. I will have to now get this back to the table very soon to see if it justifies its lofty position of 17 after just one play. So there you have it, Western Legends. So 16 is Forbidden Stars. Now I've just done a comprehensive review of this on my channel, so if you want more in-depth thoughts from me about this game, check that out on my YouTube channel, and because of that I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Forbidden Stars is an epic Warhammer 40k themed game of galactic conquest. You will be playing one of 4 Warhammer 40k factions, and you will be trying to complete objectives. If you complete objectives equal to the number of players, you'll win the game. There's also an 8-round limit on this game, but I do feel that if you let this game go to 8 rounds, then you might be doing something wrong. All 4 factions have asymmetrical abilities, cards, units, and you do have to tailor your strategy depending on which faction you are playing. You plan out your turn by placing order tokens in the designated spaces on each system. You can place these order tokens on top of each other, you can stack them, other players can place their tokens on top of yours, which can mess you up. But yeah, you need to put a lot of thought into how you're placing these tokens and the order you want to do your different actions. Once you've placed all these tokens, then you will start carrying out these actions, which will be moving your ships, engaging in combat with other players, upgrading your combat cards and your orders. You will be also collecting resources and building more units and building structures. Forbidden Stars really is an epic game. it does take us a while to play it, probably 4 to 6 hours, but it always flies by and I always have a great time playing this game. I absolutely love the combat system. It's one of my favourite combat systems in any kind of the area control games that I've played. Even when I'm not involved in the combat, I still find it engaging, as it's just so cool with the cards and manipulating the dice. This game can be very harsh and unforgiving, especially if you mess up your order tokens. If you don't put them in the right order, or if someone else blocks you, sometimes it can nearly mess up a whole turn. But there is ways of coming back from these setbacks, and they aren't game ending. So all in all, like, Forbidden Stars really is a great area control, and the theme, the Warhammer theme, also shines through in this game. It's just a shame that it's out of print, and it looks like there's never going to be any expansions for this game, so that's a pity. But I'm certainly glad I'm one of those people that has a copy of this game. So there you go, number 16, Forbidden Stars. So that wraps up the first video of my top 20 countdown. That was 20 to 16. I'll be back soon with my top 15 to 11. Until then, take care, cheers.